Your friends that are paying a mortgage to buy their house are going to hate you for this one. I'm going to show you how you can have as many properties as you like without ever using your own credit, without ever taking on debt, and eventually you can buy as many houses as you like just the same exact way. My name is Sean Rakidzich. Let's talk about rental arbitrage. Welcome back. For those of you that know me, Sean, formerly Airbnb Automated. For those of you that don't, I have made over $10 million on Airbnb, and I don't own any of my properties. I lease them all. And the coolest thing about this is, when I started this business, and it doesn't have to be business for you, but let's talk about it like my business. I started this with about $4,000 in 2015, without ever using my credit. Actually, I've got a fun story to tell you about this. I got evicted in 2009. I got my car repossessed. My credit score was like 520 something. And I started my own company in 2010 in the middle of that disaster. Sometimes you can't choose when your opportunities come, right? After going homeless, I ended up down in Corpus Christi. I was starting a business that works with newspapers. And long story short, I needed a place to put my sales employees and to live myself as the company grew. I expand the business into California. And this is when the magic happened. I got denied for an apartment. They said, "You have an eviction on your record, you can't get a place." And my credit score sucked, so I couldn't go get a mortgage and buy a property. But the leasing staff at this one building said, "Hey, Sean, you've got enough cash coming in and out of your bank account, like 4x the amount of rent. So why don't you start an LLC, apply as the business using an EIN number, and we'll just take your cash flow from your bank account, and we will approve you." This was the beginning of something really cool. This was almost 2012. My credit score was still in the low 500s. And of course, your eviction sticks to your record for 5 years. So what eventually happened is in 2014, as my company has continued to grow, I relocate the sales manager from Detroit and give him a place to live as part of his relocation package. Because that's what big companies do. And I was trying to do big company things. I signed the lease through my same LLC as the one that got approved in California. Signed an LLC lease in Houston. That person ended up only staying there for a couple of months. I ended up having to do something with that property because I was about to be losing $1,600 a month paying rent for this place. I also already lived in the same building. I ended up picking up a third property as a favor to somebody who was moving, and I took all 3 of the apartments and I listed those properties on Airbnb. They started paying for themselves immediately. That is the heart of rental arbitrage. You don't have to do this only on Airbnb, but Airbnb is like the biggest player in the game, still to this day. If you are brand new to the idea of Airbnb arbitrage, here is a free course you can start taking today. It's a playlist on this YouTube channel. There's no catch, nothing fancy going on behind the scenes, just free content. There's this huge company called Sonder. They've managed to go public at an almost $2 billion valuation with this model. You can get a lease from a building, get permission to find your own tenants, and then you just up the charge compared to the rent. If you furnish the place well, you can up the rents even more. And so that's where the cost can come in. You sign the lease, furnish it, and then upcharge it. Arbitrage has made a ton of money in places like New York, where you don't even have to furnish it or list on Airbnb. You can sign a lease and then get roommates, and you can charge them a premium because of how hard it is to get approved to rent in New York City. Rental arbitrage is not some new thing. Struggling actresses and Broadway stars in New York do this all the time. This is pretty common in places where there's a hard rental market where getting approved for places can be tough. This is a serious thing that already exists. And now because of platforms like Airbnb, it makes it easier to do it in other cities. Your total cost to get into something like rental arbitrage is however much money you spend on furniture. And you don't have to pay out of pocket. Some places will give you furniture for free, no interest for a year. And that's a pretty solid deal. But let's just say you don't want to take on debt. Like me, I started with $4,000. I got on Amazon to buy pots and pans. I went to Walmart and bought nearly everything else. And then I bought some used furniture by scrolling through Craigslist. In cities where occupancy is low, where buildings are not really full, they call that low occupancy. Those leasing agents are under so much pressure to get the place full that they will be more likely to say yes to something like rental arbitrage. And it's also very much likely that they're going to give you a lease concession. That would be a special discount off of your regular market rent. What's cool about that is you might get that up front. So let's say that you sign a lease with a place and you agree to pay $1,500 a month in rent, but they give you 6 weeks free. You should ask for that 6 weeks upfront. You won't pay your first dollar of rent until halfway through your second month. Rinse and repeat this model. Spend $4,000 or $5,000 on furniture. Then you put that thing on Airbnb. You can also put it on Booking.com. If you have more than 20 properties, you can put it on Expedia. VRBO is also a wonderful option. If you follow pricing strategies that I give you on this channel, you could stay over 90% occupied. Most properties are profitable around 60% occupancy. For apartments, you can typically aim for your net profits to be $800 a month after paying all of your bills and rents. That means that in 5 months, you have another $4,000 to buy furniture again. You could take $4,000, start an additional Airbnb listing 5 months later, take another $4,000, start another Airbnb listing. What's wicked cool about this though? Let's say you get 6 weeks for free. You literally get $2,000 or $3,000 of extra cash back that first 6 weeks. So you have another couple $1,000s in your pocket from that front-end lease concession, which means you can pick up a property 3 months faster because you got that $2,000 or $3,000 plus your $800 a month. You're looking at $4,600 in profit in 2 months. So in your 3rd month, you can go pick up another one. You can absolutely get a new studio apartment furnished and launched every 3 months. Okay, so your friends are paying for a mortgage to have a rental property that somebody pays them $2,500 a month to live in. Their mortgage is $2,250, right? So they're getting an extra $250 a month off their mortgage. And if they want to buy a 2nd, 3rd, 4th, or 5th home, like how you get a 2nd or 3rd apartment, they have to put 20% down on that property. If they want to buy a $400,000 home, they've got to put $80,000 down to buy another investment property. But for you, that $80,000, you can get 12 or more apartments. If you're profiting $800 times 12, that's $9,600 in profit per month. Now, the cool thing about this too is you get to reinvest your money faster. If you have to wait to put $80,000 down on a property every time you buy a home, it takes a lot longer to fill up that purse to $80,000. Where if you do it for $1,000 or $5,000 at a time, you can pick up a new property so much faster, which means you start making more profit faster. The owner is saving up that 80 grand. They don't make profit until they put that 80,000 down and then additionally buy furniture, which is another factor we didn't talk about. So that person is spending $100,000 or more to start their 2nd Airbnb. If this business is starting to sound interesting, I highly recommend watching my videos on how to convince landlords to allow rental arbitrage. This link here is essentially a sales training that will get you ready to talk to property owners. Watch those videos. Start right now even. You can finish this video later. Let's talk about how I do this without actually using my own credit score. You can be evicted. You could have had a car repossession. You can have had bad judgments against you. You could have your wages garnished or whatever else. You can be going through hell right now, and this will work for you. You go form an LLC, and it's pretty much that simple. But let's go into it a bit deeper. An LLC costs a few $100s to start per state. That may change. You're forming an entity that you will have represent you and your business dealings. That LLC can get an EIN number, which is an employee identification number. You do that on the IRS website, and you will apply using that just as if it was your social security number. Now, with that said, you still have to get approved. Make that easier by applying for some small business credit. Those are called trade lines. You can do business with somebody and say, I'll pay you in 20 days for something I bought today. That's called a net 20. And if you pay those on time, that is how you build credit with a business using trade lines. That's simple. You can also get secured credit cards. And if you have a bad credit score, I used Wells Fargo for this, which they may no longer offer this type of card. Somewhere else will. By using a secured credit card, you put $300 down in a bank, and they'll give you a card. After 6 months of you using it, they'll give you a real credit card and return your deposit. Businesses develop a lot faster than personal credit. They will verify your last 90 days of payment history, and that may be enough for approval. You can get funding. You can just dive in and do business. So why not rental arbitrage? Why not have a family business of real estate where you don't have to own the real estate? There was a financial institution that was talking about how short-term rentals are a new asset class. So when evaluating a property, evaluating it for its short-term rental capabilities actually adds to its value. If you owned a multifamily property that was short-term rental conducive, you could actually make more money off of that too, because your property gets rated based on its cash flow. Many businesses are the same way. If you spin up a business that is making, like mine, we make a few $1,000,000 a year of cash. I could sell that right now. In the hotel industry, you can sell at multiples of your net profit. So in hotels, a 6.5 or 7x multiple is common. So making on average $50,000 a month net profit. I can sell my business for that. 7x, basically, a $4 million business. And I started it with $4,000. If my credit score was still 500, it would not matter. I could have done this the whole way. How cool is that? So when your friends, your family tell you that you have to do it a certain way, that you have to get a mortgage, that you have to pay your stupid mortgage for a cheap little dirty house that needs to get repaired all the time, that you have to pay your property taxes, and you got to get a normal tenant, that you have to worry about having to evict, having to deal with junk tenants like that because you have a cheap property. Know that you can just dive right into luxury properties, get a bunch of them and put them on Airbnb and do rental arbitrage, and then eventually you can get big enough that you have employees. I took nearly 2 years off and didn't work on any of my companies except for this YouTube channel. For 2 years, all my other properties have been automated. Way cool. If you have questions, I imagine you do, leave them in the comments. Welcome to the newest form of real estate, rental arbitrage, and thank you for watching. I'll see you on the other side.
Hi.